Okie dokie, Brenda. Here we go. Thank you. Okay, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of the Tree Peakers podcast. Super, very special guest today and a great friend of mine over the last couple of years, Brenda Harris, who was also on episode 7 with me. And it's been a little while, but I'm happy to get the podcast kicked back off. And we're going to start with a bang today. We're going to talk to Brenda. She's been on Netflix Unsolved Mysteries, which was a fantastic episode. She's been on Ghost Adventures with the guys on the Discovery Channel, Zach Baggins and the crew. And I've heard her on Sasquatch Chronicles and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. Actually, most recently, Small Town Monsters that came through Farmington and the New Mexico area. And we're talking about the Dogman and Bigfoot and all kinds of cool stuff. She also appeared on that. So that's just a little brief history of Brenda. And it's nice to have you today, Brenda. Let's talk a little Bigfoot and paranormal high strangeness in New Mexico. And, most recently you said you were dealing with a lady who had maybe a Sasquatch on the property, and what was giving them a little trouble, or?
Yeah, well, I guess they could hear it, either to drop something, sound really loud. Also, when her husband went outside early in the morning, I guess they were leaving for work, about between 5:30, 6 o'clock, something like that.
Right.
And he had a really bad smell.
Ooh,
when he came back in the house, he about threw up because it was that bad.
Oh yeah, that rancid meat, wet dog.
Yeah.
You hear about that a lot with
with
the Sasquatch.
Yeah, so got to talking. She contacted me. As a matter of fact, the lady from Small Town Monsters had her reach out to me, because I do investigations and stuff on Bigfoot and stuff,
Yeah.
So she reached out and told me what was going on, and that was what led into the conversation about could that be him because of the smell. It was that bad. It's a possibility, And so I started asking her some questions and stuff, and what was going on. And her husband had, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she said that he had seen some creature standing by some bushes or trees or something. It looked like a dark figure standing there. And so I had asked, has it actually gone onto your property? No, not yet. So, of course, I shared some things of what to do, what not to do. The things like getting some more light up because they don't like light.
They try to stay in the shadows.
Yeah. And if you have game cameras, to set those up.
They don't like those either.
No, for some reason they know what those are, and they'll go all the way around, or they'll just go elsewhere.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that if you don't want these things to come around, that's some of the things that you could do that may help.
Yeah.
But she was concerned because of the smell, and it was not quite on her property, but there's a ditch close by where they live.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of trees and bushes and stuff. And so that's where they had seen it. And so I hadn't gone out there yet. I was supposed to, but not yet. She hadn't called me back yet. And so the day that I was supposed to go that way, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So apparently things might be okay, but these are some of the things that I shared with her, that if it does come onto the property, do you have dogs, animals, or livestock? Do you feed your animals late at night, or do you leave the leftovers outside? If you have crack corn, if all that is exposed, get that put up, because
you can draw them in.
Yeah, they're eating that stuff. And so it's about about this time when they're hungry because harvest is done with.
Yep.
Now they're looking for food. Most of the times they'll go after like chickens and ducks, small animals, because they're hungry.
Yep.
So if you leave dog food, cat food, or any kind of livestock feed out there, don't eat that stuff.
Right.
So what I told her was to get that stuff put up so that they won't be coming around in your area to eat that stuff.
Yep.
So, and also to feed your animals before dark. And whatever's left over, get that put up right away. Don't leave it out there. That way they can, if there's no food there, they'll go elsewhere. Hopefully they'll go elsewhere,
Oh yeah.
But wherever there's a small stream of water is That's where they'll hang out because there's water there.
Well, they've been known, right?
Mhm.
Up and down
Yeah.
the San Juan River, right?
Yeah.
Lots of stories of them I've heard.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's many people that I talk to that see me at the restaurant, you know, where I see your family and stuff. And a lot of them don't want to be on the podcast, but they know that you will talk to people about this, so they'll share stories with me. A lot of them are up in the Fruitland area, going towards Shiprock or past Shiprock, and all along the river. I mean, as a matter of fact, it wasn't too long ago. I got a story maybe 6 months ago, and it was the same thing around sunrise. These people were getting up and getting ready for work, and they saw this tall, you know, kind of lanky, you know, like long arms figure walking alongside. You could see the silhouette of him as the sun was coming up. But as the sun came up, they said that it dipped down and went down into where the river was, you know.
Yeah.
And that was over there on the other side of Kirtland, I guess, right? Fruitland, going towards Shiprock. Is that where that is? Right? So
you got Shiprock, and then you got Waterflow, probably Waterflow or Hogback.
Somewhere in there, yeah. Oh, Hogback, yeah.
Hogback.
I've got a lot of stories out of there.
Yeah.
Even you've told me about a lot of stuff. Every time I drive by there now, you know, and I look up at the big, I guess you'd call it somewhat of a mountain, right? The big, whatever Hogback
that
is.
big old rock.
Yeah, that,
onto the
you know,
right side, yeah.
And you don't realize how big it actually is. You know, I mean, something could be walking alongside of it. You showed me pictures before from the Hogback area, something going up the side. And if they're a reddish, brownish color, they're going to blend right in with that.
Oh, yeah.
It would be hard to see them.
Yeah,
you know?
there was several years ago, probably, what year was it? 29 or 27. My son was taking one of his lady friends back to Shiprock. And this was about 3 o'clock in the morning, taking her back home. And I guess she needed a ride back, so he's taking her home. And right there, you know where you're saying, where that last gas station is in Waterflow?
Oh, yeah.
And then right where you go around that bend is on the right side is that big old like cliff of rocks and stuff.
Yep.
And rocks are always falling onto the road, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right when you go around that bend, I mean just
Oh, yeah. How it goes around there? Yeah.
My son saw one standing right on the side of the road by what do you call those signs?
Yeah.
Just right off the road. It was standing right there.
Middle of the night.
He's like, oh my God, he slammed on the brakes, called me, Mom, this thing is standing just right here. I just passed it. He said, he's going to turn back around, but the gal was just screaming, crying, no, she's all scared.
Freaked her out.
It freaked her out, and he ended up taking her back. He goes, man, that thing was pretty big. It was just standing right there by that sign.
How many?
Like it was heading north.
How many do you think roughly, just in our neck of the woods? I mean, I've heard stories coming down from Navajo Dam all the way in, you know, coming through. I've even got one. I got a story, you know, where right in the middle of town, but along the river, along the Animas River, you know, where there's a gas station right next to the Red Lobster. The Red Lobster's here, and there's a little gas station here. Somebody gave me a story. They were filling up gas. They worked late, whatever, right? Got off in the middle of the night, 2, 3 in the morning, like this, you know, early in the morning, you know, late at night, let's say. And they were gassing up in the back area there. There's the front gas pumps, and there's the back, and there's a fence there, and the river's just right down there. And you've got the bluffs and everything right behind there, you know? A Bolax land ain't far away, all that. So it's all tied in there, you know?
Yeah.
But they said that all of a sudden they got this real eerie feeling and that smell, that rancid meat dog, wet dog smell. However, I've never got to smell that.
Right.
I had my experience in the Bistai, but I was getting growled at. I heard them running around, snapping twigs, all that, but I didn't get a smell that night. But this person told me that when they looked, they could just see the yellow eyes, you know, behind the trees in the fence, just staring at them, you know. And they got spooked, finished gassing them, got the hell out of there, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And that's right in the heart of town.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking, you know, along that river, they've got a lot of cover, you know, with all the trees and everything. I mean, it looks like it's not much, but once you get down in there and start walking, you know, it is a pretty, it gets pretty hairy in those little areas, you know?
Yeah.
You know, as a matter of fact, the wife and I don't know if I think I showed you these pictures when you were sitting with me at the restaurant, maybe the last time. The tree breaks that we found when we were headed to Ouray and Telluride. So we're up in the Rockies, you know, we're way up there, at least at 10,000 feet where we were, and we stopped and went for a little walk off to the side, and we're just taking a break from that long drive. You know, we've been on the road like 2.5 hours. We had another hour to go to Ouray, you know, and it was my wife who noticed them, and she goes, Eddie, aren't these what they call the tree breaks?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't know if you remember the pictures, but I mean, they were all in a row, you know, and like one of the trees had been stripped like down the middle, like something just took it and pulled it in half, but something that you and I couldn't do, you know. But the breaks too were just perfect, all in a line going down a way, you know. And you know, if the wind breaks a tree on one, it's one thing if it breaks one, but when there's 5, 6, 7 of them all in a row going, like it's almost like they use them for like directional markers or something, you know.
Yeah, I've come across some in also in Colorado towards what do you call that? Is it Hesperus?
Hesperus going that way towards La Plata?
Yeah, La Plata up
Right.
that way. One of my other colleagues that he sometimes goes with me, he took us up there, and there was one area where kind of almost sounds similar to what you're sharing with me.
Yep.
How some of the branches like one after another, but this one was the aspen trees. And aspen trees, you know, the trunks are not very huge,
Right.
but you know, big enough.
But they're thick.
Yeah, they're really thick.
The ones that look like they have the eyes all over them?
Right, right.
Yeah, that's what those are the ones that were broke on the way that when we were headed to Uray.
Were broken, but they were all set up high. It was really strange how they were up high in the tree. It's almost as if they were making a big old circle all the way around. It's like, whoa, what are they doing? What are they making? Maybe a big old shelter or something. But it was really, really interesting to see how long, you know, the aspen trees, the trunks that they were using, connecting it from one aspen tree to another that could be maybe 25 yards away.
Yeah.
Up high, and then it would in there, and then another one would go all the way around. It was really strange.
Well, yeah, and then you wonder too, like, you know, when they're making something like that, to me it almost sounds like almost like a Stonehenge kind of thing or something, you know? Are they using it for some kind of like ceremonial thing that they built for that day, or, well, you know, we may never know.
Yeah.
But these things are out. These tree structures are out there. I mean, I've seen some where, you know, they take the big long trees, right, and they will set them up in ways where they're all crisscross. I mean, like trees that it would take 2 or 3 men to pick up. And these things are, you know, there's 5 or 6 of them all.
Yeah.
You know.
And some of them you come across are, I mean, they're weaved in.
Oh, you're right.
You know,
I've seen
like
some of that stuff too. Yeah.
How can, you know, because the trunks are so big, how in the world do they weave them in? No, man can't do that.
No, they have to have some kind of immense. I mean, you think about it. I've always said that there's obviously some kind of human component to them. Ancient man, Neanderthal. I don't know what to put it into. But also part animal, right? There's like a balance there of both or something. If they were just monkeys, we would have had these things caught and put in the zoos a long time ago, right? There's obviously an intelligence there that is way, way smarter than we give them credit for, right? They obviously don't want to be found. They don't want to be messed with. I think too that, you know, a lot of times people who go for hikes, hunters, anybody who's out there, I mean, they could be right there, but you'd never know it. If they don't want you to know that they're there, you're never going to know it. I think, I mean, you've probably heard of some of the stories where people will say that they're almost like the predator or something, you know, where they can mirage themselves, or they can be like chameleons with their environment. Somehow they blend in, or, you know, even it gets even stranger where they say that, you know, they know how to hop in and out of, you know, this reality or portals, or it goes down the rabbit hole on this Sasquatch thing. You know, I've heard it all. You know, one thing when you just said how they weave in the trees. Have you ever come across the stories? These are pretty incredible, where people will say that they'll come and braid the hair of the horses and stuff. Yeah, I've seen pictures of these.
Very tight braids.
Braids
so tight that the owners can't undo it. So a lot of the times they'll just cut it.
And that's crazy, right? Because they obviously come in at night, right? But the horse is comfortable enough with them, as if they have like some kind of.
Some horses are not.
Or do they get? Have you heard stories where they freak out and stuff?
Oh
too?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they feel a predator's around or something.
Oh yeah, they don't like it when they come around. Some will hurt the horses.
Oh, you've heard some of those stories too.
Oh yeah, it's bad. It's just not good.
Really?
Yeah. So, I've heard where a horse was the neck was snapped, it was broken, and left for dead. You know, they do stuff like that.
And
Why?
not even didn't even eat the horse, just did it.
Just did it. Yes.
So they have some kind of killer some of them, right? Have
I
that.
think all of them do,
All
not
of them.
just some. I think all of them do.
Right.
You
So
know,
you would-
something could trigger. You know, who knows? We, like you said, we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, there's some that some will, but I believe some, not just some, but all do. In their whatever triggers them to do it, they'll do it. You know, who knows what will trigger it? Was it being harassed? Was it what the horse do, or what kind of animal, or whatever animal that they're going after?
Yeah.
What caused it?
Well, they
Or
obviously
could be
that's
hungry.
that's right. They
Because a lot of the
obviously have
times they're
to
hungry, they'll-
kill or
Yeah.
be killed in the wild, right?
Yeah.
What do you call it? You know, by the laws of nature, survival of the fittest. For them, they have to be at the top of the food chain, and they got to kill
Yeah.
their prey
To survive, yeah.
to survive. You
Right.
know, but it looks like you said, I've heard some of the stories too, where I think you talked about it on Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix, where they found the sheep with the wool just ripped right off, and the sheep left for dead.
Mhm.
Right, like as if they just did it just to,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
What?
I mean, think about the strength there.
Yeah.
To grab the skin and the wool of a sheep and to tear it all off in one go.
Yeah, what's strange about that incident is there was a hole in the neck of the sheep, so all the blood was sucked out. And then, of course, the neck was broken. They ripped like you said, the wool. I mean, just literally ripped it off the sheep. It was just dead.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's like
The
so
power to
did-
do something like that is
did-
just incredible.
That one was really strange. To me, it was. It still is today. Did Bigfoot do it, or was it something?
Do you think that's
that
like more like a
flew-
cattle mutilation kind of thing?
It could be, yeah.
In that
it
kinda-
kind of seemed that way.
Right.
You know.
Have you come
so-
across any of that stuff? Because I know we talk a lot of Bigfoot when me and you get around, but have you investigated like about what that episode on Netflix, which is probably one of my favorites of all time, from the original Unsolved Mysteries to the reboot that they did, the episode on the Paranormal Rangers, which featured you right there prominently in the beginning, and a lot of your stories, in that 15-20 minute little promo that it did with you, and then it moved on to the Rangers on the Navajo Reservation.
Mm-hmm.
But have you heard a lot of paranormal stuff? Have you ever got called out for cattle mutilation kind of stuff,
Oh, yeah.
or UFO
Yeah.
sightings and things like that?
UFO sightings, yeah. I've gotten a lot of calls. A lot of the calls that I get from what the UFO is in the Hogback area.
Really? Just
Oh,
right
yeah.
there?
Yep. Oh, we see these lights, and one hovered. It seemed like it was flying over the river.
Flying over the river? That
yeah.
low?
Oh yeah, right. In some areas there, or in Shiprock, or the Chusca Mountains.
Yeah.
A lot of people up that way have seen UFOs that way too. Within the past, 3-4 years now. Oh, it's been really active the past 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, stuff like that. As far as, like the, what do you call back to where the sheeps that were killed with all the blood that was sucked out of them. Yeah, that one just totally blew me away. I'm like,
did you go
what am
investigate that ground level? You went on it
yeah.
and
I looked, I'm like,
so you seen it?
yeah, I'm like, is it? I looked for tracks, Bigfoot tracks. So I didn't find no Bigfoot tracks. I did find a lot of claw marks on the side of the corrals.
Claw marks?
Yeah.
Have you ever been known for
Sharp, I mean, just
for
like,
Bigfoot to have claws, or is
oh
it,
yeah, they do have some claws.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I never knew about that.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
Some do, some don't, but a lot of them do. So for me, on this sheep killing, I was stumped. I'm like, did Bigfoot really do this? There's something else out here. What is it? Did it fly in the corral and kill these things? That happened there.
Oh, it was in a corral?
It was in a corral.
It was in a safe space, so to say.
Yeah. So one of our church members talked to me after church. Can you come to my house? I really need to talk to you and share something with you that had happened. So I went over there, and she had showed me some pictures of a ram that weighed between 250 to 300-pound ram, huge ram.
That's big. Yeah.
So, and it was in the corral, and I didn't get to actually see the corral, the ram, because they had already hauled it off. So after I looked all of that, but they did finally take me to where they hauled that ram off. So when I looked at that ram, and she was, whatever was in the corral, sat on top of that ram and shoved its head into the ground so far, and it sucked out all the blood that was on top of it, and then ripped the wool, the skin off of it. And of course, like I said, the neck was broken. And what was strange on that ram is
it had the power to overtake that ram and force it to bend to its will, basically.
Yeah, when I looked at the ram's face, the mouth and the nostrils and the eyes, that thing, whatever it was, like I said, shoved its face into the ground so far that it had a lot of dirt in the nose, nostrils, the mouth, and in the eyes. I'm like, okay, what
that sounds like there was a struggle, right? It was fighting and pushed it down and needed,
Yeah, and what it also
That's
did
scary. That's freaky.
was it also did like a little surgical slit, which was probably, I want to say about that long, and all the insides was just hanging out. Stomach, everything.
What do you think, from a claw or from
probably
something else?
It could be. I don't know. Like I said, all that stuff was just hanging out. It didn't rupture to eat any of that. No, it didn't do that. All it did was hold in the neck, sucked out all the blood, and
so it didn't want to eat the meat or anything.
I don't think so, because it just took the blood. Everything else was just hanging there.
That's strange. I wouldn't want to come across that thing in the middle of the night.
When I looked at that ram, when it's almost like it left an imprint of a claw on the side of its stomach. Like it's almost like, to me, it kind of looked like almost like burn marks, and it left that claw mark on that ram on the wool. It was either dry blood or to me, it kind of looked like burn marks. So I'm like, that's interesting. I'm like, whoa. And so when I looked at the other sheep and all, same thing. Neck, blood sucked out, slit on the side, all the stuff hanging out, just left for dead. And they thought that it was a pack of dogs that did. I'm like, no, this is way more than a pack of dogs. If it was a pack of dogs, you could clearly see the bite marks.
Oh, and they're gonna eat a bunch of stuff, and it's gonna be messy.
Yeah, but none of that. It was not like that at all.
That would be a freaky one to come upon.
That happened in the Nahanzad area. Okay, the lady had total of I think 25 sheep. No, take that back. It was about 15 sheep and some rams, kind of mixture of them. And so they had a sheepdog outside that went missing, and so they put all the sheep up. So two months goes by. This thing comes back and does the same thing, and takes out 12 sheep. It was 12, like I said, goats and sheep and ram that took him out.
This area, are we talking middle of nowhere?
No, you know where Ninahanzad is. You know where?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so Fruitland.
Okay.
Then you got Ninahanzad. Ninahanzad. They have. I'm gonna say where this lady lives. She's probably about maybe 5-7 miles from the river, maybe. So
okay.
She lives on top, and the river's down below.
Yeah.
And so, Bigfoot. I don't know. I'm kind of not saying it's Bigfoot. I'm saying it's something else that did that. So that happened.
Yeah.
2-3 months goes by. This thing takes out 12 more sheep. So she only has 3 sheep left. Now, in the Navajo, the tradition is something like that happens to your animals like that. They don't want them. They'll just put them down. They had to put down the rest of them. There was a lot of them that were hurt. Some that were still alive.
Really?
But they were hurt bad.
Yeah.
I mean, some of their legs, the skin was pulled off, and it was just really bad.
Makes you wonder if there was one or more of whatever it was.
I don't know. So
know?
they took them, put them out. They were only left with 3 sheep. That was it. The following week, the same thing happens to their neighbors in one night. This thing took out 25 sheep
Really?
in one night. That happened in Ninahanzad. Several months later, the late summer, a lady in a family in the Hallback area, same thing, took out about 30, I think it was between 30 and 35 sheep in one night.
That's scary.
The following year, Shiprock area, a family lost some sheep. The same thing.
Now, same thing. You know, there's no evidence of footprints or tracks.
I don't think they found any tracks at all. See, that's what stopped me. Was like, okay, I'm not finding any Bigfoot. The only thing that I found was like scratch marks on the side of the ground.
And you were on the ground, investigated all this stuff, and you've seen how scared the families were. And I mean, you go to bed one night, you wake up, and you find this horrific scene for these animals you've been caring for and taking care of for, for could be many years, and then one odd night, something like this, that's got to be pretty terrifying.
Oh yeah, for the grandmas, like I've shared in the past that the grandmas, that's their life with the sheep.
Yeah.
So that's very precious to them. Nothing goes to waste.
Right.
And so when I had 2 grandmas get in contact with me, and I met with them at the chapter house. Oh man, it was so sad. They were in tears. Can you kill this Bigfoot? It took out my sheep. And when they showed me, and I went to their place and I looked, I'm like, I just don't think it was a Bigfoot. I think this was something else.
So where does your mind go when you investigate a lot of Bigfoot occurrences? You hear about the howling and all this, but then you come across something like this. Where do you even put your mind to wonder what could
it's
have
got to be some, in my mind, I'm thinking it's got to be something that's flying in. It has wings. That's the first thing that came to my mind.
Well, that makes me wonder too about have you ever heard of people talking about seeing the what do they call it? It was known as like a pterodactyl or whatever. But the Thunderbird or whatever.
I've seen the pterodactyl years ago, back in what year?
The big bird they say flies around out there. You think there's a few left out there?
Oh, could be. A lady out there in Delcon, she said they had small ones flying around out there. I'm like, holy cow! That was back in 2000, early 2000s, I believe. But I'm still hearing today that they're seeing stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there's a great story out of what is it? The early 1900s. When we were still on horseback and everything. I mean, just go back 125 years ago. Really isn't that that long ago, know. But some cowboys out of Arizona that were moving cattle through the desert, and a couple cows got strayed, right? Or so they, had to go off and get them or whatever. But this gentleman had a story once he got back to where he needed to be, that this giant bird, the Thunderbird or prehistoric pterodactyl or whatever, swooped in, attacked the cows, attacked them, took out the horses. I mean, and just, was a completely terrifying experience. And I think he even had, significant injuries on him when he got back to where, and his partner that was with him didn't survive. He came back with one horse, all the cows were dead. And that was a story that came from, 1900 to 1910. It was something where there was no automobiles, no nothing. They were on horseback out in the Arizona desert, cattle ranching, and, who's going to make something up like that during that time, where he was attacked and he made it out, but his buddy didn't. It killed the horses, killed the cattle, and said this bird was immense. You know what I mean? I mean, just unlike anything you would have ever, imagined, And after it got done, it, flew off, giant bird, I don't know exactly how big, maybe 20 feet high or something. I mean, that's an immense bird.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard stories of people seeing the thunderbird and everything still
Yeah.
out on the Navajo reservation and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of open land out there. A lot of
Oh,
places
yeah.
for them to hide, and
Mm-hmm.
if there's still a few out there, I mean, it would be pretty terrifying to come across.
Oh yeah.
You wouldn't want that
definitely.
thing flying in on you while you're out for a hike out on the day.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing you can do
Mm-mm.
to have defense against something like that.
Yeah.
It makes me think of something like that with all the stories you're telling me about the sheep being attacked, but at the same time, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
'cause-
think something like that's going to drink their blood, though.
Yeah.
That.
What because when a Bigfoot's going to kill an animal, they usually just rip it up and shred into it. These weren't. Other than just that, like I said, like a slit and all the stuff is hanging out, blood's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why I say I don't think it was a Bigfoot, because
Yeah,
a
doesn't
Bigfoot
sound like
just would shred it and eat it right there and then.
Yeah.
So this one, that's why I say this kind of just really stumped me. I'm like, what is it? What else do we have around here? It was really strange. I still don't know what it is.
No.
And I'd like to know what it is, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
What about any of the cattle mutilation stuff? That was big in the 70s and 80s in our neck of the woods here, from Dulce into the San Luis Valley of Colorado, southern Colorado coming into New Mexico. Have you ever investigated anything like that? Anybody on their ranches or anything ever had something happen to their cattle where they find them sliced up and
Yeah.
blood drained?
Yeah.
And there's no tracks, there's no...
in Arizona, they've I've got phone calls like, hey, something's going on out here.
And like you said, this is their livelihood. They
Yeah.
depend on these cattle, they depend on the sheep,
Yeah.
and then something comes in and just
takes it
and attacks them like that,
Yeah.
but you find this horrifically strange scene
Mhm.
where they're surgically cut up.
Mhm.
There's 10, 15 gallons of blood just completely drained and gone.
Mhm.
I mean, what has the ability to do something like that?
Yeah.
Come in, leave no tracks, leave no evidence other than what's remaining of, and then the predators. None of the predators will come in and eat the rest of the animal
Mhm.
after they've been attacked like that.
Yeah, because there was it was a sheep that was killed, and even some dogs wouldn't even go. They would go near it and smell it, but whatever scent that they left on that dead animal, these dogs wouldn't even bother it. They just take off.
And that's strange too, right?
Yeah.
Because usually they'll have a field day with
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Packs of dogs or wild dogs or predators, for that matter, coyotes or anything. They come across a dead animal, they're going to eat it, right? There's plenty of meat on the bone, and they don't waste nothing. Nature
That's right.
wastes nothing.
Right.
But these instances, nothing touches them.
Mhm.
Like you said, if it comes up and it smells it, the animal kingdom, they have a much more powerful scent than we do.
Right.
We come up, we're going to investigate something. We have our eyes and our mind and our, we have our senses, but the scent of smell with these animals is so powerful.
Mhm.
Like you said, they can smell whatever
Mhm.
was messing with, whatever did that to them,
Yeah.
and they want nothing to do with it.
Mhm.
Even that, and that's a free meal.
Yeah.
There's you ain't got to work for it. You ain't got to, it's already
Mhm.
there for the taking, and they want nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always find that peculiar, that predators won't mess with the cattle mutilation kills, or sounds to me like you said the sheep were left, nothing wanted to mess with those either.
Yeah.
And you said they have the slit here, so their
Mhm.
insides are hanging out. There's easy pickings.
Yeah.
But nothing wants to
Mm-mm.
to mess with it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's
So-
strange, yeah.
So it's got to be somewhat of an intimidating smell that they're coming across, or something that
Something,
backs
yeah.
them off.
Yeah.
They want nothing to do with it.
Mhm. It's crazy.
One of the things I wanted to ask you with too before I have to let you go is the newspaper article that I came across that was on the front page of the Navajo Times, and it had a little old Native American woman who claimed that in the 1970s she had to kill and butcher a Sasquatch that was raiding her sheep and her livestock on her and that she has the full account. I mean, she went into detail about the whole thing, and you know, did you ever hear about any of that, or?
I've heard about it, but I've never really looked into it and checked into it. But
neither had I. I just came across it, and I thought maybe you had heard about it too, so I wanted to ask you about it. But it's neat, man. I mean, I have people.
You never know.
No, I mean,
you know?
And what a strange thing to, you know.
Yeah.
You're going to be on the, you know, being interviewed by the Navajo Times, you know, a newspaper, right? Respected newspaper that isn't going to just put, you know, some hoopla out there just for shits and giggles, basically, right?
Right.
I mean, this lady, I mean, she was like in her 90s detailing this, you know. Still has a clear mind and a vivid memory of what she had to do to protect herself and her family from this creature that was on her property. You know, I mean, I just don't think somebody would make something like that up, you know?
So. Yeah,
and then talks about how, if you read the article, so it talks about how the thing was over 7 feet tall, and she had, you know, she butchered it and ate it.
Oh wow.
That's what she talked about. You know, because she just looked at it as, you know, another animal and wasn't going to let anything go to waste, you know. So that's I found that a pretty incredible story, you know.
That is.
And like I said, I have people come to me all the time at my work, and I will ask them if they want, you know, if they would come on the podcast so I could share some of these stories or whatever. But a lot of them don't want to be interviewed, but they still share the story, which I appreciate, you know, because everyone is a little different, but they all have like similarities.
Yeah.
You know, there's always the smell, you know, either they're howling or screaming or whooping, you know, or I got another real quick too, before I let you go. I have when Megan and I were driving home from Durango. Megan's great at spotting this kind of stuff. You know, I'm always looking for it, but since I'm looking for it, I never see it. But, you know, if that makes sense, right? Because when you're looking for something, you're not going to find it. Megan, we were driving, if you know, like, so you can go on 550 and go to Durango, but when you're getting close to going up Bondad Hill, you can take this left and go behind and go along the river, and you come out by the Walmart and stuff over there in Durango. Have you been on that little road?
Yeah.
Know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we were on that little road coming home from Durango, right? We like to take that road at sunset time if we're coming home, hoping maybe we see some elk or deer or something. Or I always say, hey, maybe we'll see a Bigfoot. I say that, you know, probably not going to see it, you know, not a great time to see one around sunset, you know, on that road, but I'm always hoping, you know. But it's always a joke I say in the car to wife and kids. But Megan noticed a tree break on the side of the road, and she seen it as we were coming up on it, and she goes, Eddie, look at that tree. Isn't that broke weird? And it was just, okay, so we drove past it, and then I stopped and pulled over because she said it looked really strange. So I got out, and I went over the little fence, and I tried to make my way down to get up. I mean, it took me like 15, almost 20 minutes just to get there. So what I'm saying there is this, you know, you look off the side of the road and the trees right over here, it doesn't look like it's that far, right? But when you get down and actually try to go through the little arroyo and everything, I mean, all the bushes and everything. I mean, I'm getting cut by sticks and everything. And like, it's not an easy thing to do to go through this area, right? So whatever it was, made its way through all this stuff, got to this tree, and this break was at like 9 feet up. So, you know, someone like me, I would have had to climb all the way up this tree. And even then, you know, to have it broke the way it was completely, you know, the angle was just perfect, you know, and it was just pointing this way. Whatever made its way through there, which took me 15, 20 minutes just to get to that tree from the side of the road, which looked, when you're in the car and you look over, oh, it'll take me 2 minutes to get there. But you don't realize once you get down and in the muck, you know, that it's actually a little bit of you got some work to do to get there.
Right.
But I mean, I'll show you the picture when we get done recording. I mean, this tree had to be, I mean, like, you know, that thick around, and you know these trees are strong. But whatever it was, just took it and snapped it, and it was just pointing straight, going that way. I mean, I don't know. You know, I just don't think the wind would be strong enough to snap that tree like that. I'll show you the pictures, like I said, and you'll see what I'm saying. But, I mean, this tree was big, and this, whatever it was, broke this thing. But they break it in a way to where they don't just snap it and throw it on the ground. Like, it's just perfect, right? Yeah. Where I just don't think a human being could snap that tree like that, or... You know?
Yeah. I've seen some where they'll break and then they'll twist it also.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of that. Have you ever heard of where people out either hiking or hunting or whatever they're doing out in the forests or out there on their ranch or whatever, they will find a tree that's been uprooted and stuffed back in upside down?
Yeah.
I mean, think about the power something has to do that.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
I mean,
I haven't seen it. I'd like to see one, but
right.
I hear
See, I've
about
only
it.
ever heard about it. You know, where people will say they find that, or some of the other stuff where they'll find like animal kills in the trees. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Like 1,000-pound bull elk
Yeah.
way up
Nature.
in a tree where
Yep.
what had the strength to take a bull elk of that size up there, and it's, you know, partially eaten, torn apart, the legs are ripped off. You know, like you said, they've got the power. It's like us eating a chicken wing. You know, you know, it's nothing. It seems like that's just what they do. You know, but especially like in the Rockies or the Sierra Nevadas, Pacific Northwest, it almost sounds like, or Alaska. You know, it sounds like these things are massive out in those areas.
That's what I'm hearing.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking, some stories will say, you know, these things are 9-10 feet tall.
Even taller.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine coming across
Oh,
one of
geez.
those suckers? Before I let you go, well, because I know you got to go around this time, we're maybe about a couple minutes behind here, but last thing, on the Netflix episode, when they're interviewing you, there's a picture, I think it was yours, from, it looked like something slapped the trailer, and the handprint was just massive. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where you went to investigate, and there was a
It's
picture.
like a big old claw on the side of a trailer.
Exactly. Something hit it and went like this to the trailer, and then also there was a picture because you guys set up like a game cam or something, and it was just this big shadow. Like it knew not to come in front here, but whatever, it triggered it, and it took a flash picture. But on the side of the wall, you could just see this.
Oh, yeah. That was at the horse
black
corral.
shadow. Yeah. Oh, it was
at the horse corral.
bothering the horses and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, I mean, just that, the picture that you had of that claw mark on the side of that trailer. I mean, the man that was with you, maybe one of your colleagues, or maybe it could have been the person who owned the ranch, whatever it was, he put his fist in there, and I mean, this thing still had like, you know, that much room for whatever hit it. I mean, the hand had to be 2-3 times the size of a human's hand.
Yeah, I mean, it also just took that metal sheeting and it just ripped it. Quite a few of them that were ripped and twisted.
Yeah, and nobody's gonna grab metal sheeting if you're right with you're gonna cut yourself. You're gonna, you know, and but these things don't seem to be worried about anything like that,
It's
right?
nothing to them,
Right.
Because they're so strong, you know. That's why I tell people, hey, you know, I know you guys, a lot of people want to go see it and go out and look for it. Just leave it alone,
Right.
You know, because this thing, it may turn on you.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be good.
No.
You know,
There's
so
nothing you
just,
can do.
Yeah, stay away from it.
Yep.
You know, a lot of the
Right. You come across the
younger
wrong
people.
one.
Yeah. Oh,
Come
yeah.
across a rogue one.
Yeah.
Right. That maybe doesn't have the restraint.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, there are some stories out there. I heard
it's pretty scary.
I heard one of the last things I heard, and you can tell me if this is true or not. Somebody told me that in the years past, down by the river, out past either going towards Shiprock or the Fruitland area, Hogback, a lady went out for a walk that morning, and they found her. Something had got to her, and
I wouldn't doubt it.
do you know what I'm talking about? You ever hear about something like that?
Yeah, I've heard a lot.
And
a
that
lot.
in the following 24 hours, there were helicopters seen in the area, and they were looking for something. And whatever they found, when they flew out, they had the, you know, whatever attached to the bottom, and it was it looked like a giant whatever covered up, and they had it and they flew off with it, you know, because obviously, if they know they're out there, let's say government, whatever, you know, right, but they can't just let them, you know, be cutting, you know, killing people at will, and you know, I mean, whoever told me that story said that everybody in that area was pretty freaked out.
Yeah.
But you know, they all watched those helicopters fly in, and they were there for about 24 hours, and whenever, if ever they found it or whatever, you know, they flew off with something.
Yep.
You know, whether they hit it with a tranquilizer dart or they shot it and killed it, they took it off to do something.
Yeah, it's crazy how
study it, or you know,
how the government people like that I'm sure it was government that hurried them, hauled them out. It's pretty crazy how they can be in that area within about 5 minutes or less.
Well, right, because
Pick that sucker up and they're out of there.
anything that's getting reported on the 911 airwaves or to the Navajo Rangers or anything like that, you know, they're probably listening, and they hear something strange like that. I mean, they're there, right?
Yeah.
It's
like,
just,
whoa, where did you come from?
yeah,
You know, that tells me they know.
right.
You know, I don't care how much they say, oh, it was a bear. Bull crap on that. That's not a bear.
No,
No.
there's no bear in that area.
Nope.
Not like that.
Nope.
That's a grizzly bear would do something like that, but even a grizzly bear is not going to get a clean,
No.
right?
Mm-hmm.
A clean cut like that. You know, they're going to tear you to shreds.
Yeah.
That's what I've told people too. Oh, it's bears doing all this stuff. I don't think so. A bear doesn't have a fist to smash in a thing, and then, you know, or bears don't whoop and howl and scream. I don't know if you've ever been privy to hear the scream in person, but some people, I mean, I've heard some recordings, you know, and some of them think, I mean, it's almost like a siren, you know, like a loud siren and a howl, siren, scream all mixed together.
Loud.
And it'll go for, you know, whatever, for, you know, a good 60 seconds or more, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, something's got to have a lung capacity. It's got to be
Yeah.
pretty massive to pull something like that off, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And bears don't
They
make
can.
sounds like that.
No.
Coyotes, anything like that, you know. Maybe some people will get some things confused with coyotes, with the yapping and all that, but even then, you know, the whooping and all that, when people hear that, it freaks them out.
Oh, it's so loud and intense. I tell you, if you're there,
Send
you'll
chills down you?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Me and my daughter were in the Lukuchikai Mountain, and there was one about 75 feet up, just above us on the ledge. Oh man, that thing whooped. You could just feel the vibration coming off your chest. It was that loud.
Well, on that note,
that was scary.
last thing I'll say, and then we'll go ahead and cut it because I know you got to go. The last thing, I'm so glad you said that because it reminded me of, there's a cowboy guy who comes into the restaurant, and he always overhears me talking about stuff like this. And these are the best ones because he's not a believer. He doesn't watch the shows. He's not in it. But when he overheard me talking about all this, he calls me over and he goes, "Hey, that whooping, the screaming, stuff like that." He goes, "I've heard that." He goes, "I have the Lechuska, that what how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Lechuska Mountains?
Just come out.
He's got some oil wells out that way. He works, so he has to go out there. Way out there, he says, right? Takes him however long on a dirt road to get out to where he's got to go and check these. So he had two things for me. He said, "Eddie," he goes, "when I overheard you talk about that," he goes, "it reminded me of me and my boss were having lunch out there one day. We were checking the wells. We stopped at a well. We were outside of our trucks having our sandwiches, talking." And he goes, "All of a sudden, this thing whooped."
Mm-hmm.
But he said it sent chills down the both of us. We looked at each other. He said it was so loud, and he tried to like do it for me, right? Like, oh, whatever he did, right? But he said it echoed through the whole thing.
Yep.
He said they packed up their lunch and got the hell out of there. That's how weird, strange, and different it was,
Yeah.
right? And then the last thing he said, he's married to a Navajo woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said that they have family that owns ranches out that way, same
Right.
area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that they were all out there having a barbecue one night, right? It had already got dark, sun had gone down. At about 11, 12 o'clock, they heard one start screaming,
Mm-hmm.
right? They were drinking, having some fun or whatever. This scream was so horrific sounding. He said it wasn't a whoop, this was the scream, right? One of those blood-curdling screams.
Mm-hmm.
Said it was so scary. They said, "Okay, time to go inside," right? And they put out the fire, everybody got everything, and went inside because it freaked them out so bad
Mm-hmm.
that whatever that was, they wanted no part of it. They said,
Yeah.
"Okay, let's get inside." And I'll come across stuff like that where people, they won't necessarily be believers. They'll hear me talking about it, but they'll remember something that happened to them while they were out in the wilderness and say, "Hey, of all my years of being out there, I've got one or two strange things that have happened
Mm-hmm.
that stick out like a sore thumb
Right.
compared to the reoccurring, normal days that they have
Yeah.
every day of being out. It's just these one or two strange stories that they remember."
Yeah.
And me talking about it with somebody else, they'll overhear it and it'll trigger something like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah." Even my dad, last thing and we're done, he is a non-believer, okay? "Oh, Eddie, you and that Bigfoot," but he goes, if I think about it, he grew up in La Habra, New Mexico. I spent many summers out there on the ranch, my grandparents' ranch, where he grew up, as a young boy. We're talking 1950, so, go back 75 years almost, right? 70 years. And he said, you know what, Eddie, there was this one time, me and my cousin, we went out to hunt for some deer, right? We were out there all day, normal as can be, right? But at the very end, right around sunset, they said to themselves, okay, we better call it up. We better start getting back, right? It's getting dark. And they said all of a sudden they got this feeling. And this is from my dad. My dad ain't got stories like this, but he remembers this one time. He was a teenager, so we're talking late 1960s, getting towards the 70s maybe early 70s. Yeah. And they felt like they were being watched, right? And so they started, looking around. They had their rifles because they were scared, And whatever it was, they could hear the like the branches or whatever breaking off on this side. And he said his cousin caught a glance of it, and it scared him so bad he took off running. And he goes, Eddie, what I remember, if I remember right, he goes, there was bear out there, elk, deer, we've seen it all. Shot, killed it all, whatever, hunting. He goes, but whatever my cousin seen, he didn't want to talk about it, but it scared him so bad. And he said, I started running, after him, because whatever it was he saw, when they heard the breaking and the snapping of the branches, he looked over, and he goes, we were used to seeing bear, black bear, whatever, that shouldn't have scared him, Right. He saw something that scared him so bad, he ran back to that and didn't stop running until they got back to the ranch and to the house. So, like I said, people don't believe this, whatever, but when they overhear it and they hear stories and they hear kind of what goes on in these encounters, or when people have these experiences, sometimes it does trigger a memory.
It does.
Oh, hey, I had something odd like that happen that one time, or you know what I mean? So I hope to talk to you again, because I think that we could talk about a whole lot more stuff, and there's things I always want to bring up, but it's fun to get on a certain thing and get going, and then we end up running out of time. But I definitely want to thank you for coming down and seeing me today, and hopefully I'll catch you again on another episode.
Yeah.
And
next time, I'll show this to you. This will be something to talk about. But
okay.
We'll do that next time.
Okay.
It's interesting.
You got it. All right. Well, thanks for coming today, and I look forward to the next one.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
We'll see you all again on episode 10. Later.